an event, believe it or not, guess what? You can network virtually, and some of the same rules apply when doing that. So, I put together a quick list on networking virtually. We're gonna go over that list, but before we do that, let's do our trailer intro. All right, so I was on. I just finished up a networking event. I'm like, man, one of the guys, his name was Ted. I'm not gonna say his last name, but he's like, man, you can tell who you're able to trust because they're here consistently, right? And a lot of times, people they'll show up to an event or show up to something, and they want people to do business with them like right away, right? I'm in marketing. And like we have marketing, we have sales, and one of the things that we have to understand as business owners is that people they need to hear from us multiple times, right? So people don't, they're not ready to do business until six, seven, eight times they hear from you or see you. So you have to be consistent. With that being said, I want to share this list, right? So virtual networking, and then you have like in-person networking. There's a lot of similarities, right? So something that we fail to remember and understand with this virtual networking is that these are still meetings, right? And what I mean by that, I'll get to this on like point four, is that we need to show up in a certain way. So let's go down the list. Item number one, make sure you prepare yourself. What does that mean? Be prepared, right? So because it's so convenient for us to network and come into these events, one of the things that we do is we'll roll out of the bed, right? And say, I'm participating in this call. And then when we're called on or somebody asking for our feedback, oh, I can't turn my camera on, right? A big part of networking is building trust, right? A big part of networking is building trust. So you need to be prepared. Oh, my audio is not working. Okay, well, you need to be prepared, right? You prepare for these meetings just like you prepare for any other meetings. Number two, look presentable, right? So like I was talking about before, you can't just roll out of bed and expect to show up at this meeting, and then when you get put on the spot or somebody calls on you, you say, I can't turn my camera on, I'm not ready for camera, right? If you are doing this in person, the same concept applies, right? The same concept applies. Look presentable. You don't have to be super professional, but look presentable. Show up as if you would show up in the real world, right? Don't go out there with pajamas looking like you're going to Walmart or something like that, or you just rolled out the bed, didn't comb your hair or anything like that. One time I was participating in his mastermind, and this young man, he was on, because it was like virtual, he was sleeping in bed, and it just looked highly unprofessional. So that's number one. Number two, number three, make sure your tech is working, your camera, your audio, your computer. Make sure that stuff is working. Don't wait until you're on the call and then you try to test this stuff out and see if it's working. Prepare early, right? And then, make sure your tech is working. A big part of the tech aspect is your camera, right? So, and I wrote it down straight up because I'm a straight up person. Stop hiding behind a camera like a coward, right? If you're there to network, show up. Let people see your face. That's how you're going to build relationships. You can't just hide behind that black box or that picture. People need to see, they need to see you in order to build trust, right? So I'm in like a lot of networking and real estate events. People are raising money and doing these things. Like these are like, you need a high trust factor in these situations. And if you show up without your camera on, stuff like that, people are unlikely to trust you. So I always talk about video and why we should be doing and publishing video. That's one of the reasons why, because people get to trust you, see who you are. If you continue to hide behind a camera, or you're only doing voice and you only want to type in the chat, not a lot of people are going to trust you, right? So when we popped on that call, the gentleman Ted, he said, you can tell who's consistent. You see them every single time. And I'm like, I agree 100%. I'm much more trustworthy of somebody that I can see than somebody that I cannot see, right? And I'm empathizing, right? You might be shy, you might be afraid to be on camera, but it's not about you. It's about your customer, your prospect. Next, have a goal, right? So a lot of times, sometimes people pop on, I do this, I do this, I do that, and uh, it's great to be multifaceted, but have one specific goal, like a main goal, a main objective, right? So lately, my main goal has been, I'm popping on these things to have somebody come to my podcast, because when you give people more than one decision, their brains just, it can't handle it most times, right? So have one goal. You can do other things, but have like one main goal, one main objective. Don't make people think too much. Next, be concise, right? So don't. stutter and stumble and do all, like, be concise. Like, what is it that you want? Be buttoned up, seem more professional than the other people. You don't want to go rambling, telling a story about this and how you guys, you don't want to do that. There is a time and place for that. And when you're at networking events, that's not ideally, that's not the right time for that, right? So be concise. What do you have? What do you offer? Right? There's a networking event that I appreciate, that I participate in every Friday, and it's called Haves and Wants. I appreciate that because I can easily say, this is what I have, this is what I want. It makes it more concise. I have these skills and I want this thing, right? I have these skills and I want these skills. I have this property, I want this money. Whatever it is, if you structure it like that, you can be more concise. All right. Next, have a way for people to reach you. So, uh, when you introduce yourself, like, one of the mistakes that people make is, you can contact me at blah 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 blah, and people are not prepared to write that number down. Half the time they can't see you, hear you, or do any of those things. So have a way for people to reach you. Have a website, phone number, stuff that you can put inside the virtual chat that people can access later, right? Another thing is, a lot of these things happen on Zoom, is when you put that information inside of Zoom, people can download that information and contact you later. But when you're announcing your phone number, you're announcing your contact information, it's hard for people to reach you or even document that stuff, right? Sometimes people are in cars, they can't write, they can't stop, they're busy, they're focused. So have a way for people to contact you and put it in the chat. Ideally, you could put your phone number, email address, you could put multiple ways for people to contact you, but put it inside the chat. That's a record if you want people to reach out to you. And then, um, two more, three more, make sure you're early and make sure you're late. So on these virtual events, the earlier you are, the more of the chat you will collect. But not only that, right? You want to show up and you want to be professional, right? Don't show up late. Be early. It says something about you. It says that I respect people's time. I'm prepared. I'm professional. And then stay late. Right? Stay late. So when you're early and you're late, you get to have certain conversations, right? Housekeeping, you get to meet with certain people, you get to meet with the organizers, right? A lot of times we're trying to grow and elevate our business. Well, that's one of the ways you do that. You show up early when the people that are organizing the call are there, right? You can start conversations, you can start to build rapport amongst those people before and after the call, right? So every part of the call is important, but don't forget about the beginning, right? So you can be early, and don't forget about the end. Stay late if you can. And last but not least, I have a colleague. He always talks about, like, make it's not about what you do on the call, right? You do some stuff on the call, but even just as important as what you do in the call is what you do after the call. So I say that to say, make sure you follow up with people. Make sure you're following up with people, because people are not ready to do business immediately. People, make sure you follow up, right? They take 5, 6, 7, 8 times for you to follow up. Make sure you follow up. All right. So with that, I just wanted to pop on and give those quick tips because people can benefit from them, right? Like, just because it's a virtual event doesn't mean that similar rules don't apply, right? You want to build trust, you want to build a network, you got to show up and you got to do these things. And the main thing, one of the main things to build trust, is turning on that camera. Stop hiding behind the camera. Make sure you're early. So let's go over it again. Make sure you're prepared. Look presentable. Make sure your tech is working. Don't hide behind the camera. Turn your camera on, especially when you're speaking. Have a goal. Be concise. Have one target objective. Have a way for people to reach you, multiple ways for people to reach you, and be sure to follow up. All right. So that's all I have for you today. My name is Jerome Lewis. If you want to reach me, you can. My contact information is on this video somewhere. Other than that, I appreciate you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.